Welcome back to our second installment in our Drone Entrepreneur micro course. Today we are going to continue our conversation with Alex Abatie. He's a full-time drone entrepreneur, and we're going to ask him how to help us answer one of the main questions that everyone seems to ask. How do you find clients? So, Alex, how do you find the best way to find clients, and more importantly, how to keep your calendar full?
Well, I think it's like I don't think it's any different than any other business. It comes down to networking. It comes down to persistence. Emailing people back and hey, what's up? And keeping your ear to the ground. I've been fortunate to develop a lot of relationships with my fellow pilots, and we've been pretty good about keeping each other informed about things. I feel very fortunate for that. Um, but I think it's just like any other business. It's pounding the pavement and uh, networking, and I don't do a whole lot of advertising, and it's been primarily word of mouth, and it's gained its own momentum, and uh, it's primarily what I've been doing.
That's such great advice. Networking and getting the word out and making connections. So let's talk about competition. I'm sure you're not the only drone pilot out there. So, how do you set yourself apart from your competitor? And what are your business's biggest obstacles that you find in a highly competitive market?
So the biggest obstacle is uh, being undercut by beginning drone pilots or pilots who are new to the industry, who are willing to work cheaper. I've now have a pretty valuable skill set, and I'm not willing to uh, take jobs that don't pay me well, but other people are, and this has been a thing in the industry for sure. And uh, again, another common business practice is I try and compete on the quality of my work and uh, my honesty and my responsibility, and I don't compete on price.
Yeah, that is really great advice. And that's good advice in any business. Great customer service, quality of work, and integrity. Now, Alex, uh, you've been doing this for a while and you have customers and clients, but when you mentor somebody and someone wants to know how to start out in this business, what advice do you give them on how to find that very first client and gain such valuable and much needed experience?
So, I started in real estate. I don't think it's a bad place to start if that's an area that you have access to. It can give you a lot of experience. The pay isn't great, but it's not necessarily a whole lot of pressure, which is nice. Um, so that's a good place to start. Gosh, it feels like ages ago that I started, and uh, I mean, I bring that up only because that's been my experience, and it's easiest for me to talk from my experience, and that worked for me. That gave me flight hours. It gave me some experience, and just a little tip, and I feel comfortable doing this because I don't do really real estate anymore. But um, who I marketed to primarily when I started with real estate was to photographers and not to real estate agents, because, and this was years ago, but there were plenty of real estate photographers who didn't want to get the insurance for a drone, didn't want to get the experience flying the drone, but they had real estate agents asking for drone photos. So I initially marketed to photographers, and I took a little bit, I wasn't paid quite as much, but then I didn't have to manage clients. And after a while, I got phone calls, and it's like, "Hey, I've got some stuff. Can you do that?" And didn't have to deal with real estate agents, and I just had to deal with photographers, and which is nice because photographers get it. And real estate agents, their budget comes out of, or their commission, their marketing budget comes out of their commission. And so there's really an incentive for them to keep costs down on marketing. So they can be difficult to work with at times. Photographers often know the value of what you're doing. So that was really helpful for me.
Great advice. Thanks. But Alex, you've got to talk about the elephant in the room, and that's price. What advice would you give to help someone come up with a proper price for their services?
It's been just through experience, and I try and just figure out if it makes sense for me to get paid what they're paying me for the job that they're doing, that I'm doing. And then based on, and this is where the network of other pilots come in. We talk about price, and we talk about who's giving the best uh, terms, and things like that. And uh, so again, having that network, that's part of the research. But I mean, it is really such a good question, because it I think everyone finds it really, really hard to price, because you don't want to price yourself out. Um, but then it doesn't do yourself or the industry any service to come in and lowball everybody. Uh, and then that just, the race to the bottom is what we want to all avoid as drone pilots. So
Alex, one of the items that you keep mentioning is networking. Seems like it's a key component, and as well as just proper training and honing in those drone skills. If someone is looking to start networking to find jobs, where do they go for that? And how do you find a good place to network?
any place people gather is a great place, and that can be conferences, that can be social media, that can be working with other pilots on larger jobs. Those are all great places, and there's a lot of great stuff on social media, and Facebook groups are really helpful. And uh, I found some work there, and a lot, a lot of information about the state of the industry and jobs, and just conversations on the industry in general. And the industry is still pretty small, so uh, it's not hard to meet the right people if you just put your hand out, and uh, stay after people talk, and things like that. Again, it's it's all of that business stuff that is just a part of business. You make connections and help people out, and they help you out.
Helping each other out and casting a bigger net always yields in catching more fish. I've heard that somewhere. Alex, thank you so much for your time today and for your insight. Now, on our next session, we are going to unravel the mysteries of just how much drone pilots can make. Now, granted, we know that that can be based on a lot of different factors, so we're going to dive into the best practices that sets drone pilots up to reach their financial goals.